Amy Smalarz, and welcome to this episode of Living with Intention, where we share stories, habits, and tips to help bring joy and fulfillment into your daily life. So for the show today, what I would like to share with you is a process that I've used with various clients in healthcare consulting and my high performance coaching especially, and it's 3 steps to goal success. And I want to share that with you because a lot of us will set up goals and set targets for ourselves, but not really fully think about why we're doing them, what it's going to take to accomplish them. And then it's really hard, if we don't do that, to bring it into our daily lives to really be successful in what we set ourselves out for. So while it's only 3 steps and it's fairly simple, I say to folks that it's deceivingly simple because it takes time and effort and energy from you to be able to do that. But it's not impossible to do. And I know, myself included, and those of you watching, that you've had struggles and challenges with goals, but they're avoidable. And that's why I wanted to share this with you today. So with the 3 steps to goal success, the first step is your why. And there's multiple levels to it. It's why you want to accomplish a goal, and why it's important to you, and also an area that we don't really think about as much is how important is that goal to you? You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, is it, well, it sounds interesting, you know, a friend's doing it, I want to try it? Or is it an 8 or 9 or 10 where you really do have a passion, there's a need, and you have a big drive to do that? And I'll share with you a story as to why it's important to really think about your why ahead of time before you set your mind on doing that goal. So a client of mine now, she's working on some professional motivation and professional goals at her job, but she mentioned kind of off the cuff a couple weeks ago that, oh yeah, I'm gonna start doing a yoga class a couple times a week. And I thought it was interesting because she's never really been a yoga person and brought it up. So I said, hey, you know, what brought that up to actually want to do the yoga class? And she said, well, my friend's doing it, so I thought I would try it. And, you know, thinking about the whole question of why and level of importance, I asked her, I said, well, why is it important to you to do that, to go to the yoga class? And she honestly didn't really have an answer other than to say it sounded kind of fun, which is fine. But then I asked her, I said, well, at what level of importance would it be for you to actually go to that class? And she thought about it and she said, well, not that important. So it ended up that while she will explore potentially doing some of that, she realized that had she set her mind and goal to go to the yoga class every week, it may not have really worked out as well for her because it wasn't that important for her. So understanding the why is really a big piece, kind of the first step of assessing, you know, how vested are you in doing that, and what implications would that have on you and your life? But the next question is something that, while many of us may look into a little bit, we don't do deep enough. And the second step to goal success is the what. What effort will it take for us to actually go through and accomplish a goal? And I will say why we don't go deep enough is because it's not just effort from ourselves, but it's also the effort and potential support we would need from others around us, whether that be a spouse, a friend, our kids. Because when you go to do something on your own, you know, we don't live in silos and completely separate. We are part of communities or even, you know, small tribes or groups of people. And we need their support to go through, even if it's just a simple, hey, did you do this today? All the way to helping reconstruct meals if you're changing your eating habits. You know, it's not just something you're doing, it impacts others around you, and to get that support. And I mentioned meals because I had another client of mine, and she was working to change her eating habits. And it's not necessarily she wanted to lose 10 or 20 pounds, but she was kind of feeling in the middle of the day or toward the end of the day. And she wanted to gain some of that mental and physical strength back that she used to have. And so she made a goal of being conscious about what she was eating throughout the day and bringing more fruits, vegetables, and a couple green smoothies, into her day. So her why was really there. She wanted to improve and feel better and improve her own effectiveness and productivity. So that was super solid. That was a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. But in terms of the effort, that's where we really dug in, because it's not only increasing your fruits or vegetables that you're eating, but it's thinking about, do I need to change where I go to the grocery, where I get my food from? Or if you're not changing the store where you shop for your food, are you giving yourself more time to make more of those positive selections or read the ingredients of what's in the food? And that's something, that effort, if you don't think about that ahead of time, you could get pretty frustrated if you're trying to eat better, but you're not giving yourself enough time to think about what you're going to eat and where you're going to buy it from. And the third part for her, which was what I've understood and heard from her as feedback, has been really one of the most important parts, is the support from her spouse. Because while her spouse loves her and supporting her in eating, in the changing the food habits, he wasn't necessarily on board to change his own. But he also, in them having a conversation, recognized that, he wanted to support her in doing that, and she had to have the courage to ask him, for that support at home. And so there's effort in not only what she's doing, but in those around her. And sometimes that's harder to ask for, but really getting that what and knowing what's involved is huge in setting yourself up for success. So let's say, though, that now you've set up your why, you're totally solid, you've got that, and now you have your what it's going to take. The third step, which almost nobody does, and if you do it, I would love for you to let me know that you've done it, because there haven't been a lot of people who've done this third step. And this third step is measuring and celebrating your small wins along the way. Because while many of us set out to accomplish something in a week or a month or a year, and we have really big milestones, we don't take time to have a daily win or a daily celebration, if you will. And it doesn't have to be huge, but it can even be, in the case of my friend and client who's changing her eating habits, a win for her is to not pick up that sugary snack in the afternoon. Now, to some of you that sounds silly, and it's sort of, well, of course you should do that because that's your goal. But mentally, we need to give ourselves acknowledgement and positive reinforcement that what we're doing is taking us down the right path to help us build that momentum for us. And so she's done that practice in the afternoons when she doesn't go for that snack that she used to go for. She'll just give herself a moment and say, all right, that was pretty awesome. I did not do that today. You can also have bigger wins. I have a neighbor, and she's working on writing a book right now. And she has it set up so her celebration is, after she writes so many words a day, she takes her dog for a walk, which the dog has to walk anyway, and she wants the exercise. But the biggest part of that celebration for her is to put her phone on mute, emergency contact only, and get away from the computer, get outside, and just give herself 10, 15, 20 minutes of just free walking time. And that for her is a great celebration, because it gives her some downtime, and it's something that she incorporates daily. So those are the 3 steps: the why, the what, and the how. And a big piece, another reason for incorporating those 3 steps, is by doing those 3, you avoid what I've grown to call the negative spin cycle on you. And I'm sure, I know I've been there, and I'm guessing some of you who've watching have been there before too. I mean, when was the last time, so you set up a goal, and you get through it a couple weeks, and you're just not seeing progress, right? And oftentimes, I'm guessing you haven't seen progress because you didn't set up small wins throughout the day, or throughout the week, or throughout the month, and you have no way of seeing the momentum that you've built. And so you say, okay, I'm not seeing any difference. I'm not making any progress. Why'd I bother with this? And then the next step is, well, I'm not seeing any progress. I'm putting all this work in, and look, I'm not really getting much out of it, right? So you see, instead of seeing the positive side of the effort, you feel frustration and you feel overwhelm, which all brings it back to the initial, what the heck was I thinking? Why did I even set this goal up in the first place? This isn't something I even wanted to do. I can't believe I thought this would be a good idea. And so that negative spin cycle takes you backwards from not seeing momentum to feeling frustration, overwhelmed, to saying to yourself, why did I even start this in the first place? And so by setting up those things ahead of time, the why it's important, the what it'll take, and how you'll accomplish it, and celebrate yourself, you see, if you do it in that order and really take time on each of those steps, you're able to avoid that negative spin cycle because you're setting yourself up to celebrate yourself and acknowledge what you're doing every day, to appreciate that effort, and to really remember why it is you started in the first place. Now, I can, and when I share this with other folks, I understand that you get the, okay, Amy, that's great. So you've helped me set up goals, but what the heck does that have to do with living it with intention? And I say actually a lot. And a couple personal stories that I have for me are twofold. So one of them with my personal and family life, I've really set my goal this year to be present with people, present with my kids, with friends, with whomever I'm with at that time, and really pay attention to what they're saying and to just let them know that I'm there in the moment. And, you know, an example, so a daily intention that I have is with my kids. So I have two boys who are 6 and 8, and every day I make an effort, obviously, to be with them and spend time with them. But at least once throughout the day, although it's usually more than that, I will get down to their level, so on my knees, which is great because I know soon enough they're going to be taller than me, so I like the fact that I'm still taller than them. They're still little. But I get on my knees with them, look them in the eye, and just say, you know, Mama loves you, and I'm so proud to be your mama today. And I give them a hug. And I know some people think that may be cheesy, but for me, it's really part of my daily intention to let them know that I love them, that I'm there for them, and that I make time for them and appreciate them as who they are. And I think that's a big part of my overarching goal of being present with people, but sharing that time with my kids. But on a professional side, I will say I have a professional goal of growing my business 10 times. And not just double, but 10 times. And I know that's a little crazy. So for those of you who know me, it's probably within the ballpark because I am a little crazy. But to grow my business 10 times. So how do I bring that to a daily intention? I mean, how do you even break that down? And what I did, so example today, as part of growing my business 10 times, I have a group and community on LinkedIn, and I want to invite more people into that group. And so I set time aside this morning, and I wrote 50 individual messages to people that I'm connected with, to let them know that I'm happy to be connected with them. B, I actually found an article related that I thought would be fun for them to read and something they could learn from. It just add to their value and content for the day. And so that was part of my daily intention, which is related to my goal of growing my business. But the daily intention is to reach out to people on an individual basis and not just selling my products or my services, because everybody does that. But instead to differentiate and actually say, hey, thank you for being connected with me. And, oh, I thought of you when I read this and I wanted to share it with you. And that's it. But that's part of building that value and the content for folks. So those are just a couple examples, but there's a lot of other different ways. And you know, you're unique in what you are interested in doing and the goals that you have in mind. But it's a couple examples that it doesn't have to be a business goal, that it can be something personal and vice versa. Because, I mean, I say a lot, people always talk about work and life balance, and I say that's ridiculous because we only have life and we balance what we're given at that moment. And really having a daily intention and living with the intention of doing the best we can in the areas that we're focused on is so important. But being able to step back and set up, small, medium, and large size goals, and really thinking about why they're important, what it'll take, and how to celebrate ourselves throughout the process, that not only really helps to enable success in what you have set out to do, but also because you're doing this on a daily basis, because you set out to have a daily intention, you are really bringing more joy and fulfillment into your life and most likely other people's lives as well. Because, again, like I said before, we don't live in silos. We're not on our own. And how we feel physically and mentally shows and has an effect on other people. And so building ourselves up for success really helps us to be able to contribute in positive ways. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode and show around 3 steps to goal success, that you learned a few tips on ways you can set up goals and how you can think about that. And maybe most importantly, thinking about ways you can bring in overarching and larger pieces of your life to smaller pieces to really help yourself live every day with intent and positive intentions. So thanks so much for sharing your time with me today. And don't forget to always start and end every day with a smile. Thanks so much.